Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of our podcast, Is Breakfast Included? Is it? How you guys doing? Good? Great. Today on the show, I have my very good friend, Josh Blair. Now, Josh is a Grammy Award winning engineer who's worked with the likes of Mark Ronson, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, and Duran Duran. Josh is a busy guy. He bailed me out on a show on this tour, but he did take the time to help me build a rack and sit down and talk to me. He tells us how he got into this business, what it's like working with bona fide superstars, and of course, what he likes for breakfast. I had a lot of fun with Josh. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
I'm Joshua Blair. I'm a recording engineer, producer, arranger, general dog's body, clean the dishes, do the work, whatever needs to be done. That's me.
How long have you been doing this?
Since I graduated college in 2000 and I've been working ever since then.
And where are you from originally?
I'm from a little town called Lismore in northern New South Wales, for those who know Australia at all, but that's near Byron Bay, if you know, generally speaking, where things are. And it's, it was a good music town for things. But yeah, that's where I grew up. I loved it. It was great.
When did, so being from there, when did you start getting interested in music? Is that all your life?
If you ask
thing?
my mum and dad, literally from the moment I came out, because they used to sit me on the couch, and the only thing that would shut me up was putting the record on, and I'd sit at on the couch and bang my head in time to the music. And so I wore that record out twice. I'm not telling you what the record was; it's too embarrassing. But they had to buy a second one because they just literally ran it out. And that was the only 20 minutes that Mum got free from me going la 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 constantly. Is that kind of put the record on, sit Josh on the couch, go off and do 20 minutes worth of whatever she needed to do, and then as soon as the album finished or that side finished, I'd be la la. She'd run back in, flip the album over, put it on again, and off she'd go again. So that thing got worn out completely.
All right, we'll talk about that album later.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else in your family musical? Or?
Yeah, my dad is. My brother plays with a band. I'll have to do a shout out for his band, but we'll do that later on. And my mum's not. She's a good people's key singer, so she sings in every key all at the same time. Okay. So that's good.
I've never heard that.
But no, so my dad was can I say an amateur musician. He got paid, he played on the weekends, but he would never did it as a full-time job. Yeah. And my granddad also was a musician and singer and a choir master, and my great-grandfather was a choir master. So it's been it's been in there for a while, and it's been distilled into me, and I've had to do something with it. So
what was the first instrument you picked up?
First instrument I picked up was probably the bass, because the first instrument I remember having was bass, and it wasn't mine, it was just part of the family. I mean, we had instruments around the house all the time, but bass would have been the first one. I think it was a jazz bass. A Fender, I don't think it was a spectacularly brilliant one. It was just a Fender Jazz that we had. I even think it was a 3/4 neck from memory. I don't even remember it being that big, because I would have been like 5 or 6 or 7 or something, just kind of sitting there, playing that kind of thing. I don't even think we had an amp. I think it was just the bass. That was it. So, and my dad always had acoustic guitars floating around the house, and he's got his revered Rickenbacker that he will be buried with, kind of thing that he's got. So he's a massive Beatles fan, so he's got an AC-30 and a Rickenbacker, so that's it, kind of thing. And there's only one amp in the world, and there's only one guitar. Doesn't matter what else you do, that's the end of it, kind of thing. Tells me about how great the neck is and all that other stuff. It's like
over and over again.
Over and over and over again. And then this is a great lengths. We just keep taking the piss out of each other about the, I keep going, well, it's not quite a Strat, is it? He goes, neck's too thick on a Strat, so all that stuff. And so, yeah, my brother and I give my dad lots of shit about the Rickenbacker. So.
Usually when you grow up in a musical family, it can go either way. It can be pushed on you, or you can just, it's there, and if you want
I don't think it was pushed on us. I think it was just more, it's just what I don't think I had any other thing to do. I had no other, I mean, you're a kid, you grow up, you want to be a fireman, you want to be whatever, all these other things, I want to be a fighter pilot kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But there was there's been nothing else I've ever wanted to do. It's like, that's it kind of thing. And I got bitten by the bug Because my dad had he'd play in bands and stuff, and I used to play in the band at the local golf club. I was the drummer, and literally the drum kit was bigger than I was, because I think about 12 or something, and cymbals and toms and nonsense, and you couldn't even see. It was just like a stick every now and then you'd see from behind this white drum kit. And it was when my dad had a 4-track TIAC, I think it was, or like a Porter Studio or Porter Sound. I can't remember what the thing was. I've still got it at home, but in the attic somewhere in a box. But it was when I was in high school, and I was just, learning stuff not the internet, but learning stuff off the TV and off the radio and trying to play it. And I had the 4-track, and I'd sit down and play the drum part in, and then go back and play the bass part in, and then go back and play the guitar part in, and all that. And so it was that's what I would do for a weekend, because, in the middle of nowhere, you've got not much else to do. So, we do all the usual things, but that was fun for me, just to sit there and try and play and record all this stuff. We had 2 microphones, I think, and that was about it. And I used to go into it was such the most bodged together thing you've ever seen, but it was fun. And, I got to, as you do, you're a kid and you don't know anything. You just go, oh, Bohemian Rhapsody, that sounds like a fun tune. So I got to that one and was like, wow, this is weird. How do they do all that stuff? And then that was the end of that. So that was engineering after that, because that just bit me right there. So
music, being a musician, took a second base.
Yeah, as soon as that one came out, it started. I still played, because I had to play in. But that's the one point in time where I went, ooh, I like that. That's something cool. I like that kind of thing. And it had the right blend of science and art for me. That's the bit I always love about engineering. It's not just science, and it's not just art. It's both.
Yeah.
And so you get to there's a technical aspect to it all, but as long as and I've always strived and hopefully succeeded at, is to get the technology to go away. So you don't notice it. You're there and it gets done and things happen.
Yeah.
And then you've got the music at the end. You go, oh, nice. And no one cares about the technology of how it was done. Like, I'm not there going, oh, they recorded it on there was 1,000 channels in this thing. It's like, well, is it a nice song? Yes, great. Don't care after that.
Yeah.
So, but I still like the science part of it.
Yeah.
So, I can geek
And there's
out.
some guys out there that love to tell you the science part.
Oh, well, I know. And that's their thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's their idea. But I still want to have a good song. I want to have a good chorus. I want to feel something. Otherwise, it's just like, well, that's nice. I mean, to me, it just sounds like you're just a photocopier at that point.
Yeah.
You're like a classical person who just likes to photocopy something, and it's all about the squeak of the chair in the third movement. It's like, who cares? That wasn't written there, but and that was when for me, I was like, oh, I can't do that. You're not a squeak of the chair of the third movement kind of guy. I want to feel something. So.
Did you go to school for engineering?
I did. Well, if backpedaling slightly, I had the same family teach me in primary school and in high school for music. So I had the wife teach me. Mrs. Hartley taught me in primary school, and then Mr. Hartley, I still can't call you John. That doesn't matter. You're always Mr. Hartley to me. I had him for all of high school by one year, and I hated that year and loved it when I got to go back. And then, I went on to do college after high school, and I was very lucky to be able to go to Berklee in Boston.
Ah.
So that was really cool. So that's like for anyone who knows that one, at that point it was like a full-on jazz college, and there's Rock Josh turning up, with the power toms and all that.
Did you have the long hair?
No, I never did. Never went that far. But it was always I was too much of a nerd for that. There's too much science at that point in my life for the long hair and the kind of flannelette shirt and stuff. But it was definitely interesting, because there was definite kind of cliques, for lack of a better term. But everyone was there together. It was great. But there was definitely the jazz guys, the pop guys, the rock guys, the metal guys. So it was definitely kind of everyone tribed out kind of quite quickly into their little groups and stuff.
Did you kind of mingle with everyone, or did you gravitate towards the rock guys?
I was really lucky that after the first semester or so, I picked up just like a gig on the weekends. And so I ended up playing and mostly mixing, a local band that used to go up and down the northeast. It wasn't a massive tour kind of thing. It got as far south as Rhode Island, so it's not a massive kind of. We're not playing state to state to state here.
Yeah.
But it was its full kind of on its full on point. It was it was Wednesday night in Boston, then Thursday in Providence, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Rhode Island, and then take the train back.
Yeah.
So it was or we got dropped off by the singer kind of thing. So it was one of those, it was I jammed school into 3 days to go and do this. So it was kind of like a baptism of fire. Like, you really want to do this. This is kind of what it's like. And if you want to make schoolwork, because I ended up wiggling my curriculum around to make it so if the class was on a Friday, I'm not taking it that semester. I'll take it the next semester. And Berklee's really good where you can just some things you have to take in order.
Yeah.
But a lot of other stuff you just go, well, there's two semesters you have to do something. Doesn't matter where you do them, you just have to do them at some point. At that point I was like, brilliant, I can do that on a Monday. So okay, I'll put that in semester 3 and 4 as opposed to 2 and 3 or whatever. So that was really good. But so I did that. So that was lovely, and that's really helped loads because it's not just not to diss tonemeisters, because I know a lot of guys that come out of tonemeister schools that are really good. But it's not just an engineering course. You can't just go there and do engineering. You have to be able to play, and you have to understand music, because there's conducting courses, and there's harmony and theory and ear training and all that other stuff that you have to do. So you can't just sit there and go push up fader, push button, way hey, there it is, it works, and not know what's actually going on in the music and the nuts and bolts of what's happening. So for me, that was lovely, because that's again the sciencey part of music and the actual doesn't it sound cool part, or it doesn't sound cool part.
How important is it to be familiar with the music, to be a musician, to know enough about the music in an engineer's world?
I think it's hugely important, because you don't have to know what chord's coming next and you be able to transcribe the thing, but you have to understand what they're trying to do so that you can facilitate what they're trying to get at. Because that's the bit of getting rid of the science. Because if you're just literally sitting there going, I need to push that button and put that mic there, and after that I have no idea. Because if you think along with them,
play, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Twiddle, twiddle knob and just sit there kind of thing. If you can kind of think along with them and understand what they're doing and where they're going and what they will need and where you think they're heading with the song, and kind of head there with them, it speeds up your reaction time and speeds up the whole session. So you end up getting a lot more done because everyone's thinking along the same road with everyone. So I think it's hugely important. Plus, also when you're mixing something, I can talk to a musician about, and they can say what chord it is, or like, for I was working with an artist, and the producer said, can you just drop in on the G minor? And I rewound the tape and went, okay, and pressed it and went bang in on the G minor chord. And the artist didn't play, because she thought there's no way he's going to know where that is as an engineer. He's got no idea what's going on. And he leaned across and went, no, Josh knows the chords, so don't worry about it. So it's fine. Just we'll tell him stuff or whatever, and he'll punch in and he knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. So that's like, for me, that's just speed. That's the idea of speeding up the idea. So, I'm not perfect pitch or anything, but I can look at a guitar and know what chord you're playing. Yeah. So then I used to for those sessions, I used to just write them down. So write out a little chord chart and go
verse, chorus,
and then write all the chords out and go, okay. So when they say, and I know where I am in the song, so I go, okay, we're going to pop in on the G minor. Okay, that's fine. 2 bars back, off we go, bang, in we go. So it just speeds up the whole process and gets the technology out of your face. So you go, okay, I'll just pop in there and keep playing. So it keeps the session flowing along, which is what I think.
Does that also make the musician a little more comfortable knowing that?
It can and it can't. It can be the opposite. I got sacked off a gig because of that. So that's the complete opposite. But again, it was one of my first gigs out, and I was straight out of college and cocky as hell, and thought, oh, everyone's like this kind of thing because. Berklee's like Hogwarts. It's the only way I can try to describe it. So you go in, it's just this magical place, and everyone's magic with you. As soon as you walk outside of that, you've got to remember, well, yeah, that's great, but you're not not saying that everyone else was a muggle kind of thing. So the Harry Potter theme doesn't quite carry on everywhere, but the idea is the same thing. So you can't go out and just go like, if I was at Berklee and I said, that's an E9 chord, let's just jump in there. That's fine. Everyone did the same courses, did all the same stuff. Everyone's at the same level. No one's got an ego about it or anything like that. They just go on. When you leave, having the assistant who's getting your tea and coffee know that you're scrappling around trying to find an E9 chord, and he pipes up and goes, "You mean E9?" And that's the coffee boy. It kind of puts everyone a little on edge, like, what's going on here kind of thing. So
right.
I was asked to... not do coffee on that session after that day. So it was kind of like, oh, okay. So it's not that you have to hide your light under a bus or kind of thing, but it's knowing that when to speak up and when not to speak up. I think it's the best thing to learn. And that, again, that's just doing it.
You learn that. That's trial and error.
Exactly. That's how much can I say. And also it changes with clients. I mean, there's some clients I just literally turn up, push the buttons, press record, stay out of the way, follow the chart. That's it. Don't say boo. There's other sessions where I turn up and they know and they rely on me to help out with stuff. And there's other sessions where I feel like I'm part of the gang.
Yeah.
So it's just who you do and who you work with. You just kind of work out that as you go. But again, that's, as you said, it's trial and error.
Yeah. What was the first session you got that you thought like, okay, I'm in, and now I can make a name for myself or start?
Well, I think the first one where I went, okay, I'm now actually recording something that will come out to a big audience, and it's me, and if I screw this up, I'm dead in the water here, kind of thing, and it's a big step forward, was probably an Australian girl who came over to England to record, and her name was Delta Goodrem. So that was the first album that I did, and I did the single for her album. And it was the vocals on it. And I did 2 songs, I think it was. I don't think the second one made the album, but the first one was the single. And I was just trying out a second one just to get it done. And it was the 2 producers who were doing it were ex-Berklee guys. And their career like flown since they left and kind of stuff. So they're off and running. And they graduated like 5-6 years before me. So, but they came over and were working on another album at the studio, and I kind of got talking to them and mentioned, oh yeah, and then they had the Berklee connection. And then when they couldn't do the session because they were both back in LA, we ended up getting a link up, like a really, for lack of a better term, like a very primitive version of FaceTime with loads of boxes and very expensive, as opposed to now where you just push a button and it's done.
Yeah.
And so we had the link up, and I asked them, I was like, really, okay, what mic did you want to use, and what did you have? Because I just wanted, like, at that point, I just want to copy what you've done. I don't want to get in the way. You talk to her and all that stuff, and they're like, no, mate, you'll be fine. Yeah, this is what we use, but you use whatever you want. And I'm like, oh, and they put me really at ease, which was lovely. And I went, okay, well, and that's the thing that I've always taken from them is just listen to a voice and put whatever you think would work with it. Try what the guy before has done. Or the girl before, whoever's done it, but always go, well, because voices change over time.
Yeah.
So, and also the song's different and how you want to address it. So it's like you don't play a whole set with a Les Paul because sometimes you need a Strat. So it's that kind of thing. So yes, you could do a whole set with the Les Paul if you want. Great, well, good for you. But the Strat will do some things the Les Paul can't, and vice versa. So it's that kind of thing. So I just said, oh, okay, yeah. So we were lucky that we had loads of nice mics and loads of great gear. And I just went, okay, that with that and that and that. And I think that'll do. And let's go with that. And that's pretty much been the process that I've worked with ever since then. Ask what they've done before, but just try something new if you think might have something better.
Yeah. Have you ever walked into a situation with what they've done, it works, and then you just carry on from there?
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of time where I just walk in and go, what did you use? But it's all, once you start doing it, and I'm being very blessed with the level that after that session, I jumped on some very big sessions after that. And at that point, it was, money is no object to whatever gear you want, because I'm in big studios and they've got all the famous gear, all the name things. And at that point, and everyone starts to, you start to see a commonality of things that people use. There's 3 or 4 mics that everyone uses, there's 3 or 4 EQs, there's 3 or 4 compressors, and that's it kind of thing. And off you go. So there's not, you're not reinventing the wheel here constantly. But that's kind of what it is. So I kind of was very blessed with that to find I could just do that. So I did sometimes just went, well, yeah, that's exactly what I used on the other one. So, okay, great. And off you go kind of thing. So, but that's it.
Like you said, after that, you were off and running and you got to go to studios where the budget was no option. Mm-hmm. You have a relationship with a very well-known producer, McCartney.
I do, yes.
When did that relationship start? And how did it start?
That was, that's a funny story, that one, because it's actually how we know each other.
Yes.
So it's through that connection. So I'd just done the Delta stuff and was thinking, I know this is really nice. I'd like to keep this going if we could, because this is
I like singles.
I like singles, and that's nice. It's nice to be able to tell your parents, hey, that thing you heard on the radio, I did that, as opposed to, yeah, Mom, I'm still trying to, pay bills.
Still doing Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah, exactly. Still riding on the bus. And so, so for the band that we work with, I kind of had done a little project, and my mantra at that point, and for every person who wants to do this job, it's literally do everything, don't say no to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because the classic example of do everything and never say no to anything is my career. Literally, could have been just Delta Goodrem, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
But I used to record keyboard bits and pieces when Nick, the keyboard player, needed something done. John, the bass player, needs something. He just came in because they had a prod room right in the studio where I used to work, and there was never no albums going on or anything. They just pop in, do something, and pop out again. And Roger famously couldn't ever work the printer, or it just never would connect to his computer. So because it was a network printer, so I still remember the stupid network code to get it to work for Roger. But so I'd done stuff like that, and Simon had come in and needed to record his daughter's piano lesson final thing. I don't even know what it was. I was just like, yep, totally fine, don't care. It's Simon, I'll do it.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to sing, but I thought he's got his daughters in there. It's their piano teachers. He's leaving or something. It was their final year at high school. I don't even know what it was. It was something. It was just all I remember seeing is Simon Le Bon's kids and piano. I'm like, yep, I'm on it. It was on a Saturday. Everyone wanted to go to football. I don't really care about football. So I was like, boom, I'm having that. Thank you. So I did it, and I put a mic up for Simon, just left it there, and thought, okay, he'll probably wander over because, what doting dad doesn't want to sing with their kids on a record kind of thing. So I put it up there and put my best stuff, put my Delta setup on that one for him, and went, let's go for it and see what we can do. And he came down and sang on it and turned around and went, yeah, that sounds nice, great. And that was it. So I thought, okay, good, I've got a thumbs up there. If I ever get, I might, something might come of it. And then they needed they wanted to do an album, and I was there, and they all knew me at that point then. And so they went, well, let's get Josh just to do the pre-album stuff, and we'll get this mythical Mark Ronson guy to come down and do stuff. And I'm like, well, that's great. Let's do this. I'll do all the pre-prod stuff, like the pre-writing stuff and all the other and then when Mark comes, I'll hand over to his engineer, and at least I can get to say hi, and if it sounds good, I might get somewhere else with it, but who knows?
Yeah.
So that's good. And I thought, Mark Ronson, he's going to come with, 50,000 people, this massive entourage, and, flash cars and all this other stuff. Mark tips himself out of an Uber and walks into the car.
They're carrying him in.
Carrying some stuff. kind of thing. So, they carry him in on throne. But no, he just literally kind of got himself out of an Uber and one little kind of bag he was carrying, and that was it. And so this is the mythical Mark Ronson walking like any other Joe off the street. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then we sat down together and started, and he listened through all the stuff and the rough mixes we've been going. And he just said, okay. And then kind of I broached the topic of, you're looking around thinking, what, your engineers turn up tomorrow or something kind of thing? So I kind of broached that topic lightly with him. He goes, no, mate, sounds pretty good so far. You'll do until you fuck up. And that was that. So I'm like, okay. And I've been working with Mark on and off since then. So I guess, at some point, but that's it kind of thing. So that's how I started. So it was literally just as kind of blasé as that. And then,
so for some reason, I thought you came in with Mark, and that's how you met the boys.
No,
but it's the opposite.
It's the other way around. I was just there because I was just Joe Schmo, T-boy, everything else boy, kind of, he can run the Pro Tools rig because none of us know how to run it. Yeah. So he can press record, and he helped us set up the prod room to do the writing schedule. And so we just did that. And then Mark rocks up and says, you'll do until you screw it up. So, and then I stayed on with that whole album and then went on to do a bunch of other very nice albums with Mark after that. So, so that's how I got onto the, all the other things that I've been involved with Mark after that. So that was, I think.
And he came in, as the mythical Mark Ronson, but like he mentioned to me, I was a fan coming in.
Yeah,
I wanted to make a classic Duran album.
Yeah, he's such a fan. So it was really cool because, it was really disarming as well. So it just literally was like the band and then me and him. And I kept pinching myself going, yeah, that's not me and him, mate. That's Mark Ronson and you.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. But it was really nice because he's like sitting there getting all excited just like I was about cool stuff. I'm like, dude, you're Mark Ronson. Why are you getting excited about this? Yeah. You do this for a living kind of all day long. I'm like just trying to get in here.
Yeah. And
so sorry about that. That's the usual.
Everything. One thing rings, it all rings.
Exactly. I'm trying to, and I can't turn that one off. So I'll have to. I can turn that one off now. Sorry about that. the usual thing. It's always going off.
But no, like you said, this idea you had of him, the mythical Mark Ronson. Whenever I met him, he was just
disarming.
And almost disappointing to me. Like, is that it?
But
he's such a nice guy.
He's so nice. He is still the mythical Mark Ronson because he still turns it on and gets it done. Yeah. But it's just so disarmingly, annoyingly nice that you're sitting going, oh, you could have at least been like a prick about things, but you're so nice. Yeah. It's just But
you could have been the whole like, I need a Coke halfway, Diet Coke the rest of the way because I'm watching my figure. Exactly. You could have been that guy.
I didn't want blue M&Ms kind of thing. So it's that kind of thing. But it's just like, oh yeah, cool. So
I want all the M&Ms to say W. I don't know how you're going to do it, but do it.
Yeah, make it work. But people, leave me alone. But yeah, so that's how I did that, and then on from there, kind of thing. It was lovely because it was just the next gig after the next gig after the next gig, and so. And
I'm gonna bring this up. I know that you and I always give you shit about it when I talk to you, but your relationship with Mark brought you a Grammy.
It did. It was very nice.
Like you were the first Grammy winner I have on this recording.
Oh, there you go. That's very nice. That's a nice thing.
How did that feel? Was it one of those moments where you're like, if it ended now, like?
Yeah, it's one of those. Well, the saddest part about it is that's kind of like what I was always gunning for or always wanting to do when I was little. I'd watch the Grammys religiously when I'm like 12, 13, going, I want to win one of those. That looks so cool. I want to go and do that one day. I don't care how I get there. I just want to get there. Yeah. And then we went over and did, so after working with Mark on that album, on the Duran album, I then went over, he like flew me over for the first time. So that was my very first ever flyaway gig kind of thing. And we'd fly into New York.
It didn't cost you?
It didn't cost me, yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't pay for the airfare and stuff. So, yeah, and we flew into New York and I went, ooh, we went to the power station. I'm like, oh, this is wicked, all these cool things. And it's Mark Ronson. Again, great, fantastic. And Bruno Mars. I'm like, what? This is because Mark famously never tells you what it is. Can you come to New York? Yep. You just say yes. It's yes or no. Will you come to New York for me? Yes or no. Yeah. It's not who is it for? Because again, I understand why he does it. Well, this is why I think he does it. He doesn't want you to go and play one gig off against the other. So either you come for me or you don't come. Yeah. That's fine. Whatever you want to do. And so I literally got on a plane, went to New York, had no idea what session it was on. And it was the Locked Out of Heaven sessions. Yeah. So that got nominated, and that's the first time I was like, ooh, I like the sound of this. This is quite nice, this. And then after that, we did some other gigs together, and then obviously in the next record cycle for Bruno, we then did Uptown Funk. And so that's the one that got me the Grammy, which was amazing, but it was great fun.
I remember the acceptance, and you walked up on stage with the group.
I did.
And you just smiling from ear to ear.
I know. It was one of those things where you go, yeah, try and be cool, dude. Try and be cool. On the inside and the outside, going, yeah, bollocks to that, mate. You're at the Grammys. You could be like a 3-year-old kid on stage. Yeah. So that was the end of that kind of thing. But yeah, it was good fun.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Has there? I mean, I could ask you if there's ever been a nightmare gig, and I'm sure there have, but you can't name. Usually, we don't name those people.
No, we definitely don't. No, I've been really lucky where I haven't actually had a gig where it's all gone horribly wrong. It's. I don't know whether that's good luck, good management, just whatever. I have no idea. I've not really had one where it just all went wrong. I've had some really long sessions where, you're doing what essentially should be 3 weeks of work in 7 days, and I've had sessions where it's all just fallen apart, but it's none of your fault that it's gone apart. It's just other things. But I've never been in a session where, like the desk's caught on fire. We've been at one just recently where the whole desk stopped. And all the sync completely stopped on the desk. Boring technical nonsense. So I just walked in and the guy went, well, I'm like, oh, that's never a good thing to start with. And it just didn't work. So it was like, well, okay. I can't do anything here. So, because the bit that I'm supposed to be pushing around is just literally a massive paperweight.
Yeah.
At that point. So I'll go and watch the gig. That'll be fun. So, but yeah, so things like that where, the band fly you down at great expense to do a job and you can't, I feel bad about it. But again, it's not, I didn't do it. I didn't build the desk, set the thing up and all that other stuff. So I have had things where they've just gone, left of center. Yeah. But I've never had a kind of,
and speaking of never saying no, you were at that gig, but the band flew you in
to the gig before because you had to fill in for someone.
I did. Someone who will remain nameless decided that they'd try and get out of a gig by coughing a lot and faking a test with a red pen. So, no. So, yeah. So, for those who don't know anything about the story, yeah, I had to fly in and do Bernie's job. Well, 1/3 of Bernie's job. Let's call it for real. I didn't do any of the load in. I didn't do any of the load out. I didn't do any of the plugging up. I literally push some buttons because I know the songs. That's the only reason I was there. So John knew that I knew the songs and knew that I knew where, the verses and the choruses were.
He knew that you and I could communicate. Like,
exactly.
This is where the change is.
Yeah, exactly.
Do this,
so,
do
yeah,
this.
because obviously Bernie and I have a half-decent relationship where he can talk to me and I can talk to him and he can tell me I'm a twit and I can go, yes, I know Bernie. So... So that was why that was that one. But yeah, so I got flown into the Italian gig beforehand to do to literally just do. Like,
and that's a classic
10%.
example of not saying no. Like you got to call that day.
I did. Yeah. Well, I got a call the day before. It was literally 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
I got the phone call. Yes, we need you to come to Italy. And 4:30, I got the cab to go to the airport.
Yeah.
And I landed, and there was a taxi strike, and the rest is too boring to tell, but it was one of those just where everything, like literally, Bernie got sick, the taxis were on strike, I had to literally rush out of the house, I threw everything into a suitcase. The next gig, I thought it was going to be 40 degrees, it was like 15 in a wind, and like in a wind tunnel, so... I then borrow a jacket off Bernie. I lose his jacket, so it was just a mess.
Soft, sore spot.
I know. And the desk doesn't work at the gig, so it was chaos from start to finish. But the gig got done, and it worked. So
it was. I got a text the next day saying our reputations are intact.
That's perfect. That's good. That's all I want to do. Step in, do the job, step out. No one knows I'm there, which is perfect. So that's good.
Back to Mark.
Mm-hmm.
You've worked with him consistently since then. Maybe not all the times, but
I did. There was a patch where I was on a lot of the time for his gigs, but again, because he moved to, we did a lot of work here when he had his studio here in London, and then he, for career reasons, wanted to move to LA. And for family reasons, I did not want to move to LA. Mm-hmm. So then the tie got cut a bit there. But he was, I was lucky enough that either he'd run out of engineers over there who were available or wanted me for whatever reason it was. And I got to go over again then to LA and almost live there for 9 months doing the Lady Gaga album with him. So that was fantastic. But that was on off, back and forth all the time, because obviously I didn't want to go and just drop the kids and say bye. I did actually want to come back to a wife and 2 children. Not kind of come back to a smoking hole in the ground with a kind of a rude letter on it telling me where to go.
Yeah.
So I kind of flew back and forth. And Mark was really, really good about saying, okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll, when we're on and we're off, we'll fly you back and forth so you can actually see your family. So that's really good. Mark's really good about family, which is lovely. So he understood that, and he also started the session a little bit later so I could call home every day and just talk to the kids because they were young when I was over there. So it was nice to be able to check in with them and I'd check in for dinner and say hello to everyone and all that stuff. And then as soon as that was done, boom, we're on. So it's only 1 or 2 days where Mark was kind of standing in the background, kind of tapping his watch going, we need to get on because, we've got a lot to do today kind of thing. So that was really good.
The Lady Gaga album, that was another session where you didn't know. You just flew over.
Was literally just, can you come over to LA? It'll be like for 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. And it was 9 months. So, but again, that was lovely. But that's walking into a complete unknown and going, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah. And what was that experience like? She's one of the biggest stars in the world.
Again, disarmingly, annoyingly nice. So it's like, it was really good because I sat in the studio with them for, it was a 9-month session. 5 months was literally just the 3 of us. And that tallies back to the story about the G minor punch-in. So that's the session.
Okay.
And so it was just, so it was like living in their pockets basically. And it was so lovely to just go, these two are writing music together. They're, 2 of the biggest stars in the music industry. How lucky am I coming from this tiny little, town in the middle of nowhere to go and be able to sit here like 10 feet from them and do what I love for a job. I mean, I could have paid you. I would have paid you to do that kind of thing. So, but they're paying me. So I was like, brilliant. So I just sit there and just and soak it all up and just love it. It was fantastic. But you obviously have to write the chord chart out, otherwise I wouldn't know where to do the G minor punching. So a little bit of work had to be done.
Yeah.
But other than that, and interestingly, on that, she got me to write out the charts a couple more times. And I'm like, okay, well, just photocopy that one. And I didn't know what was going on until after the album came out. She wanted it for the album liners.
Okay.
So inside the album liner is my chart.
Your handwriting?
My handwriting of some of the songs. It was like, if you hadn't told me that, I would have really concentrated and written it. Because every time I did it, like after the 5th time, I just was scribbling it out. Like, there's a flipping chart. There you go. You know this song. You've played it a couple of times now. You don't need me to give you the chords. But, so that was what that was. So my scrappy handwriting's in the middle of the
I'll have to check that out.
album. So, yeah, it was funny. So,
I get what you're saying. Like this, this kid from small town. Like, if you would have asked me when I was a kid, I was going to live and die in the same town I lived in, so even now, even what I do as a tech, like I look around, I'm like, how lucky are we?
But that's the thing about the music industry. It just, if you're open to things and open to events and ideas and people, it just takes you places and you go to see stuff.
And you don't say no.
Yeah. If you're negative all the time, it's also just, that's, no one wants to have you around at the gig. I mean, that's half the reason I think at that point in time, I was, getting loads of stuff is, it was just always say yes, always make it work, always be positive, always be happy. Everything was always doable. There was never a kind of, oh no, I don't think we can do that kind of thing. And my other thing was always learn as many ways of doing something as you can. Always learn. Every day is a school day because someone else will do something and you might go, well, 90% of what they do is a bit weird and I can see it's a bit cack-handable, but that 10% there, that's a lesson I can learn right there and I can learn something from them. And so you end up getting into a situation where, like you said before, have you had any horror sessions? And you end up saying no because you've got 10 different ways of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So you go, well, I need to record the drums, but the desk's gone, or the desk group outputs have died. But this used to be one of the tests I give all the assistants at the studio when I used to work there, would be how many ways out of this mixing desk can you get? I've just told you all your mix buses are broken. How do you get out? And then and they have to go through all the different ways to get out of the desk. And then they learn, it's just like a patch panel at this point. It's just in, out, and shake it all about and go wherever you want. Yeah. As long as you know this, you can get around all the problems. So, this has died. Okay, whatever. Boom, boom, and you're off. Most people, a lot of other engineers I know will be like, it's all died and I can't make it work anymore. It's like, well, no, it's get it done. Figure out what went wrong later, get it done. Yeah. Because you've got to finish the gig. It's got to happen. Yeah. So you can't just say, I can't feel like it today, or the mix is not going to happen today, or the bass is stopped. Bernie would be like, fine, get another bass, plug it in, off you go. Yeah. Kind of thing. So that's...
I wish we could sometimes. I wish we could say like, hey, gig's off.
Gig's off, we're done. Yeah.
Bass isn't working.
Yeah, the 75,000 people out the front might be a little slightly annoying.
But, like you said, we make it work.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
There's so much stuff that goes into what you do, what I do.
Yeah.
That...
There's loads of technology that can go bang. You just have to figure it out and make it work.
Yeah. Did you get to work on A Star Is Born soundtrack?
I did a bit for it, but I don't know whether it made it in the end. I've got no idea because there's a load of stuff that went on with that one. So I don't know. Is the I think, but I don't know. I wasn't credited for it, so that's as far as the rest of the world and history goes. No. But I have a sneaky suspicion there's a bit in the chorus and a bit in the verse that I may have had because it sounds like my recording. So because I know what my recording sounds like. So
when you were setting up, when I came in here, I've been wanting to talk to you for quite some time. Yes, I've been bothering you since September.
I'm sorry about that.
No.
We've been quite busy, Bernie.
But here we are, almost a year later. We're doing this. I showed up with my recorder and my SM 58, and you're like.
No, man, we're not doing that.
And you set up this. What kind of mic is this?
Neumann U87.
Yeah, and then you said, "Do you want to know who the first person that sang on this mic was?"
Yeah, well, that's because it's not that mic; it's the pop filter in front of it. I've had that pop filter from the start of my career. So as soon as I bought it for the Delta Goodrum album, thinking, okay, I'm now proper. Yeah, I'm doing a proper session with proper people. I need to get myself proper gear, and so we had those ones at the studio. But I was like, it's $70. I'm going to have it forever. I'm planning to have it forever, and it'll be my pop shield, and everyone who ever worked with vocally will use that pop shield.
Yeah.
So Bernie, I rattle off a few names for Bernie. He was like, "Ooh, that's nice." So
I feel very famous. Just
that's fine.
Even talking into the pop filter
That's
into
even
the
better.
mic.
So yeah, but the mic you're using is Simon's mic. So he uses that. That's what he uses on all the albums. So
Yeah. Hungry like the wolf.
exactly. We might edit that bit out.
I spoke with Felix Threadgill, who is our audio technician on the tour, and he brought up something that you and him have in common.
Yes, I am an avid cricket fan. I will, guilty as charged. And yes, he is correct. If you're Australian, you pretty much can't not be a cricket fan. You're pretty much ostracised and take your passport taken off you if you don't like cricket.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I didn't play for ages because I was the yes to everything.
Yeah.
Yes to every gig, yes to every job, yes to everything. I was never available. I couldn't commit to a club going, well, I can play maybe that Friday, that Sunday, but I don't know because I might get a gig. So, I mean, you can't do that to a club or a team or anything. So I was just like, okay. So played it when I was in high school and stuff, and then never played for 20 something years.
Yeah.
And then once I started getting gigs where they were a little bit more sociable hours and sensible things. And luckily for me with Mark is when he had his studio in London, he wouldn't really work much on the weekends because that's DJ time and gigging. So he'd literally Friday afternoon, early evening, he'd finish the job with me, tell me, like, give me 5 things more to do for a couple hours, and he'd be on the plane off somewhere. I mean, the most maddest one was he'd been really busy. He flew back. We did some work. He then popped a plane to Singapore, worked out his DJ set on the way to the gig, landed in Singapore. Half an hour later, did the DJ set, jumped on another plane and flew off somewhere else to America, I think, did another DJ set there and flew back, and they poured him into the studio on Monday morning. It was like, where have you been? Like, I've had this like lovely relaxing, I played cricket on Saturday, it's great, come back, and he's had, 3 international flights, 2 gigs where literally he's landed, done the gig, got back on the plane and flown off somewhere else, kind of jobs like that. And so that was like, wow, okay. And that's where you kind of work out, there's a reason why that guy's made it. It's because you got to put the effort in. You got to put the hours in. You can't. No one hands it to you on a plate.
You can't wait for it.
No, you got to go and get it.
Yeah.
So if you want it, you got to go out there and get it. And obviously you have enough talent and cunning and guile to know this is good and know this is not. But you've still got to go and get it. There's plenty of musicians that I know, Bernie, that are fantastic that sit in their bedroom and don't go nowhere after that because they can't. Get out. So
no. I have this. I use this word a lot. Manifest. And I feel like people who are doing what they do, like Mark, like yourself, that you manifest that. You work for it.
You want it.
You don't.
You imagine what you want, and you figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
You have a goal.
I can sit there and wait around for the phone to ring, or if there's somebody that I've only chased one gig in my whole life, and that was an artist named Jason Isbell. Mm-hmm. I loved his music. I loved his vibe. I did a tour as the support with him, saw how his and then I chased it.
Yeah.
I wormed my way in, and when they needed someone, they called me, and I felt very fortunate, but I felt like I did as much work. I did all the work to get that gig.
Yes, but that means yes, okay, so you actively did that one, but I also don't believe that you're not consciously chased gigs, but you've subconsciously allowed yourself to be open to get other gigs.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there as well, because a lot of people just closed off, that's it, no, I can't play outside, I don't want to do. Where if you're open to anything, and you're a can do, not a it's too hard, or a there's, yes, but. If every sentence you start that starts with yes, but, then, or no, but is even worse, that's the kind of, it won't go anywhere for you. You won't get any place because there's always a problem.
Yeah.
It's never a kind of solutions is what you want. Don't be the problem teller, be the solutions provider. Yeah. And that's the thing. So that's what you are. That's why we get on so well, because we're two people that are kind of the same, which is we're solutions providers. We're not kind of, oh, my bass rig's in the wrong spot today, so I can't, the whole gig's ruined, and I can't, I don't have as much space as I used to have or I normally have, and you
just make it work.
You make it work.
Yeah.
You turn up, you make it work, and you definitely don't tell John.
No.
You just go, yes, it's all fantastic. He comes over, great gig, fantastic, and that was one of the things that you said to me. Just if he looks over at you, big smile, thumbs up, off he goes, and he's a happy camper, and he is, and that's it. They just want a cuddle, just to go, you're doing great, because they're standing in front of thousands of people, and everyone's a bit anxious about everything. It doesn't matter how many years they've been doing it. There's always jitters and stuff. I mean, my most adrenaline fueled moments are literally just before I press record for the first time for an orchestra.
Yeah.
Because there's 85 people and it's costing a fortune per minute and that kind of stuff. And that's the most adrenaline charged part of the job. And then it just gets into look at the music, facilitate this thing, get it through. And it then becomes a lot easier. But it's still, I mean, I've recorded loads of orchestras. I still go and talking to the guys in the band. They've played more gigs than I've had hot breakfast, cold breakfast, and no breakfasts.
I know.
And they still get jitters before the gig because they're like, this is something I love to do. I want to do well, and I want to do it. And that's why you have that adrenaline. If you don't have that, you really do wreck your gig because you're not concentrating at that point. If it's so blasé, you're like, whatever. That's when things go wrong, I think.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready to go.
That's some of my favorite moments live. Like when I was coming off being sick, I was having to sit down a lot because I just didn't have my energy.
Yeah.
And he knew that bothered me. But what he does this a lot. Well, not a lot, but when he does it, he knows it's putting me at ease, which I've tried to do for him so many times. Like, here's your bass. Don't worry about anything.
Yeah.
But he would come over and I'd pull my ear out and he'd say,
your in-ears for everyone else. He doesn't actually have a removable ear.
He pulls his ear off. And, No, my in-ears. I pull out my in-ears. And he'd come up and he goes, I was thinking about this afternoon. And he starts telling me what he was doing. Has nothing to do with the gig.
No,
but he's just conversating between the songs.
And it's so weird because you're having that conversation.
And I'm like, yeah.
And
but,
literally...
But what do you need? And he's
14 feet over the front of the stage, there's 60,000 people standing with a band gig and the whole thing. And he's like, breakfast was...
Yeah. And then I walk...
position between those two.
Then I walk back to my position and I'm like, okay, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry.
So John's like that. John.
But really we worry as what we do working. What has been your experience working with them? I know mine, and you know mine, and we talk about it. But
I love it. It's great. It's so nice. And like the first time we spoke about the first time I worked as an engineer on their session, but I did some work before that as an assistant. It's not the gig I got sacked off, by the way. That's a different one. So I'd learnt my lesson by then. So I've managed to keep this one. Yeah. So it was the album that was after Astronaut and before Red Carpet Massacre. There's one in the middle that never came out, and that's the one I did my first assisting on. And I was really lucky, and they're really nice guys, and they gave me a ticket to the show. So they happened to be playing a show in a park on the east side of London. I can't remember what it's called now. But so I went along, and I kind of knew Duran Duran. I knew one or two songs of them, and I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. A big band, okay, great. And I didn't know how big they were. I mean, I knew them in Australia, so I knew, okay, they're an international band.
Yeah.
But then I went along and listened to the set. I was like, wow, I didn't know that one. And I didn't know, literally, it was song after song after song after song that I just knew was in the common vernacular of music. Yeah. And I didn't clock that it was that band.
Yeah.
It was just a band that had done that song, and I'd never put them all together and gone, wow, that's all by the same band. I knew, because obviously being a little younger and I wasn't, completely compos mentis to all the different songs in early 80s, but obviously Ordinary World I knew. So when that one came on, I went, oh yeah, I knew they played that one.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, it was just something that like I said, in the vernacular of music that you didn't really take.
You hear them in cafes.
Yeah, you don't know who it is. Yeah. You just go, oh, I know that song.
Yeah.
And that was what it was for me. It was this epiphanous moment, just standing in a field going, knowing that in 3 days' time, I'm working with that band, and that was like, oh, kind of holy moly! Now this isn't just a band who's had a couple of hits. This is like a band who can play literally a 90-minute set with only hits.
Yeah,
there's no fodder in there. There's no kind of Friends on a Bus here. They're all hits up the front. So you're like, wow. And so that was the big moment for me when I'm like, okay, this is proper.
Exactly. And I've said that on this on the podcast several times. Like, I wasn't a fan when I came into this, and then I did my first show with them, and I thought, I know all these songs.
Yeah.
And there's still moments when I'm on side stage and I'm you know what I do on side stage. But
I'm not just standing next to you.
I'll catch myself and go like, that's fucking Duran Duran.
I know. It's so weird.
Or when I get these texts from John and I'm like, okay, let me reply. And then I think, John Taylor is texting you, dude. John Taylor is texting you.
It's those moments when you're in with like when I'm talking to you and we're working stuff and you get a text from the boss or whatever. Yeah. It's just, it is what it is. But it's funny when you're out in like Hogwarts. It's funny when you're out in the rest of the world and your phone goes off. I was at a hockey club the other day and my phone rings and it's got, because I'm slightly dyslexic, so my words aren't very good. Colours are fantastic. Pictures are even better. Yeah. So I've got all their pictures on the phone when it comes up, so I've always got their photos, so I know I can just look at the picture. Oh, yeah, it's Nick or someone. Oh. And literally Nick calls, and it goes, bing, on my phone. My phone's facing up, and everyone around the tables who I play hockey with is looking at the thing going, oh, yeah. Because I didn't tell anyone what I did for a job. So this is like, Nick Rhodes Duran Duran written on the thing. There's his picture. I'm like, I'll just take that and walk off. And there's like, And so it is like a pinch yourself moment. Like, wow, we're in this kind of little ecosystem of cool, and like other people have no idea what you do.
I know they do.
But you do it. You go, okay, this is normal.
This is my job, and that's my boss.
Yeah,
and they may look at you in a different way, like, oh, you're my mate. But
yeah. But
I think that's true. I always say you treat artists like wild animals. You never know when they're going to strike. But I think, speaking to you, Kev, Oz, Gavin, people who've had these long relationships with the band, says more about the band than it says for us, because we keep coming back. So there has to be some. You don't come back to punishment. No, you don't come back to somebody who's going to treat you like shit. You come back. I always say stick with the devil, but that's just a term. So that's I don't think they're that. I think it's, for one thing, it's a good show. It's a good show.
At the bottom of the line, straight back to the music. The music's great.
Yeah.
So that is always, if you go to a gig and you like the guy but the music's like, oh, really? Mm. Then obviously that's very hard. So straight off the bat, the music's great. So that's a massive tick. That's tick number one. Two, the guys are really nice. Obviously, because they're your boss, you don't screw up or anything. If you screw up, then yes, of course you get, then angry boss comes out, which is what happens on a normal
phone call.
Yeah, the phone call. I'm waiting for my phone call. So, and that point, but again, that's a job. So at that point, so that's just anything. But you do have a relationship with them where, I could call them up if I need something. Like, I don't, but if I need something, I'm sure they'd turn around and go, and I have done it once or twice with them where I needed something, and they're like, absolutely. And I'm like, I just, the first time I went to, when I was nominated for the first time for Bruno Mars for Locked Out of Heaven, I had nowhere to stay, and we were doing the album at that point, the Duran album, and I had nowhere to stay, didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, and John turns around and goes, Josh, stay with me at my house. I mean, he didn't have to do this. Yeah. Stay with me at my house. While we're there, stay a week longer. When's the Grammys? Okay, that weekend. Okay, great. So when do you think you'll be done? I'm like, I don't know. The Grammys finished. No. When are you done? When you're done with your weekend, because you'll have things you want to do, people you want to see. When you're done, you let me know, and we'll organise it, and we'll do a week's sessions in LA recording another guitarist, because we needed to have another guitarist on that session. So we did. And so I'm like, okay, great. And I didn't know who that was. I mean, he was doing a real Mark Ronson on me where he wouldn't tell me who the guitarist was. So, that's lovely. So I got to stay at John's house, and, let's face it, that's a really nice house.
It is.
So, this is country boy coming over, kind of first time to Grammy, goes, and I'm like, this is John Taylor's house. There's a heated pool and the whole 9 yards. I'm like, this is like proper. Wow. Yeah. You're kind of like a little kid in a candy shop.
This is rock star shit.
Yeah, exactly. This is proper. So, then so I go off and do that, and of course we got nominated, and we didn't win that one. Mark won some other stuff for other things, and Bruno won some for best stuff, but I personally didn't get one. So I was like, man, that's all right. And I got a lovely bottle of champagne and a letter from John saying, you might not win, but you're always a winner for me. Oh. And he left it on my bedside table. I'm like, oh man! And I said to him, I'm never opening that until I win. And John looked at me like, okay, mate, you might not ever get another one. So luckily, 2 years later, I did. So that was great. Yeah. So that was fine. So I got to open it then. So I actually texted John, and John let me stay at the house again for that one as well. So I got to go to his house twice. That was brilliant. But again, so he did the whole weekend thing, and then said, right, okay, we're off to record John Frusciante. I'm like, John Frusciante, because I'm a massive Chili's fan as well, and so we're off to do that. So it's just and he's like, okay. So yeah, they can do. They're lovely. Yeah. But again, you've got to earn that respect. You can't just go walk in and waltz in and demand that respect. You can't force that on you. That's, obviously you and I, we've worked for them for a very long time. Yeah. And you don't walk in gig 1 or 2 or 1 and demand that you fly in a private jet and muck around and your legs are under the table and you're starting to push everyone around.
I've seen people come in this gig a little too excited, or a little too, what's the word I'm looking for?
I would say eager and trying to throw their weight around.
Eager, yeah. And
I'm just going to move this mic, Bernie, because it's annoying me. So I'm sorry. That's my tech again. Sorry.
A little too eager, and I've seen, I didn't really talk to John maybe for the first 3 months that I worked for them. It was like, come to back here. This is what I do. This is what I use on the set, and I like to think I'm the guy who said, one bass is fine. Just play that same bass. But no, so
I always love that he starts with 5 and then whittles it down to, look, I don't want to anymore. 2 will do. So I always love looking at you at the start of a gig going, yeah, that's not going to be
6 basses.
Yes, that's not going to be what ends the tour.
So. But no, and then once I think the relationship started very organic. I came in, I was new, and then I had to build that trust. And it wasn't until the Paper Gods tour that.
Good.
But by the end of All You Need Is Now, the relationship was there, and it was like, hey, thanks for everything. Take care of yourself. Blah, blah. Yeah. When Paper Gods came around, it started off, and it was a different vibe with me and him.
Yeah.
And then it just built from there. But like I say, I still go into every gig thinking this could be my last gig. I'm not going to get too comfortable. I'm not going to.
I don't think you. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, if that's the way you see it, then that's fine. But that's not the way I see it. I don't see you going in going, I'm going to get fired.
I do.
Yeah, no,
okay. I do.
Well, I can tell you, unless you literally set fire to yourself and run on stage and kind of jump into the crowd. Yeah. Short of that, I think you're fine. Yeah. But no, for me, I don't. I think being blasé, like I was saying about when you do the record, when I do the recording of the orchestra, if I walk in going, yeah, cool, this is an easy gig, and then because that's when you go, I'm easy. I've got my feet under the table. There's no way I'm getting the sack. That's when you start cutting corners.
Yeah.
That's when you start going, that'll be fine. They won't care. And then you start treating them like disrespecting them and who they are and their legacy and everything else. You can't do that. And you shouldn't do that to any person at all in general.
No.
But, when they, so you for me, I think it's kind of the same as what you're doing, but obviously you think you're going to get fired every time you walk in the room. I don't think I'm going to be fired every time I walk in the room. I just also remember that at the end of the day, there are other people out there that could do my job. So I have to always do my best job.
Yeah.
And if I get sacked because I do my best job, okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah. If I do the best I can and they go, not good enough, I'll be like, why? But, I'll still be, okay, I tried my hardest. But when you get the sack and you've got the sack for half-assing it or just letting standard slip, that I think would be heartbreaking for me, because that's like, you just didn't try.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's the thing. And I don't think like I said, I think we're kind of the same. We would never go into a situation and go, whatever. and it'll be fine. I mean, that's that burning desire inside me, like it just filters into everything I do, and it really frustrates people at times because I'm like, no, it has to be the best. We have to do the best we can, and it's like, what? Why are we settling for third best? Why? But we could do more. We could be better.
Yeah,
and other people are like,
even when it's the best, we're constantly looking to make it better.
Yes, because that's if you're not going forward. You're stationary, you're actually going backwards because everyone else is pushing forward. So you're, even though you think you're just going, it's fine. No. It's not. You're going backwards. But that, I mean, I've had a couple things in my life recently that have come up where you're like, oh, really, dude, seriously, can't you just calm down? kind of thing. So I'm like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. This is who I am.
But I think that what I call the core, like the people you always see and I've been seeing for 10 years, 11 years, that says, like I said, that says more for them. Yeah. Because we want to come back around them. Yeah. And they're, like you said, they're good guys.
Yeah. And for me, I feel very honored that because I don't go on the road at all. I literally come on the road for, like, if there's something gone wrong, like Bernie's not available, shit's gone wrong then.
Because I'm coughing.
Yeah, exactly. Not in a coffin, thankfully. But no, because, I mean, and I feel really lucky and I'm really happy that I get welcomed into the core gang so easy, and I can literally slip straight in, get the thing done, and slip straight out again. And you guys always make me feel welcome, which is lovely. Yeah. But I don't think I'd have that with, I don't think many people have that with other acts where a new person just pops in, gets it, fits straight in with everyone, and straight out again, kind of thing.
And I don't think a lot of acts have it when a person that knows the band as well as you come in. Mm-hmm. I think for someone like me, I ask you a lot of questions because what you know kind of helps me. Yeah. What you do in here with John kind of helps me out there.
Yeah. Well, especially like the simple version of that is when the tour starts. You've never heard the songs before. I've lived with them for 2 years or however long.
And I email you, and I'm like,
email, so what did you use on the verse of such and such and such and such? I'm like, oh, hang on, let me think. And then I'll tell you, like, okay. And then it's because obviously it's never going to be the same as the album. No. But it's got to be a close approximation thereof, or John might turn around and go, actually, I want to take it in a completely different direction. It's live and we'll do this. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, okay. And we just go, that's it.
Roll with it.
We'd roll with it. This is, the boss says he wants to do that. Fine, let's do it.
He wants to use a Chadwick stick for the whole show.
Good luck with that.
That's what we're going to give him.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when you go, I don't think I want to do bass teching anymore. Exactly, trying to sort that out. Keep that in tune.
Well, man, I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. We worked up. Well, we didn't work all day yesterday, but we worked
most of the day.
Yeah, and then we've done this,
sorting out that hum. Can't have hums.
Get rid of that hum.
No, exactly.
And it's gone.
It is.
Thanks to you.
No.
Man, when you go away, you have a legacy of work behind. What is the one thing that stands out the most for you?
Well,
that you never thought like you would achieve.
I wanted the Grammy, so that's the one thing I'd love. The it's I mean, this is going to sound really corny, but it's the friends and the circle that you make of friends around you. Like that's the thing that I think is when I'm old and grey and I can't do it anymore, knowing that I didn't tour the world, but toured and did stuff with and was working with and was in studios with superstars, and to know that I was just in there with them and they called me a friend. Yeah, that's for me. That's like the most amazing thing. I mean, Grammy's going to be great and it looks good on the wall and fantastic. But I don't sit there going, "Isn't it fantastic?" The best thing is like I get to call John Taylor a friend. I get to call Roger a friend. I get to call Nick a friend. I get to call Simon a friend. Yeah, I get to call all of them friend and everyone else I've worked with. I get a phone call from Mark. I'm like, "Hi, Mark. Yeah, YouTuber. We're talking about the superstars, not the workers." So.
Okay, not the help.
No, I didn't say that.
No. You're right. And no, man, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
And and it's amazing when I have a relationship with these people, and you as well, all of them. Like, when anyone calls, I'm like, yeah, and you pick up, and you're friends with them. You're not all of a sudden kind of like, the boss is calling. I never have that feeling. Like, the boss is calling, and I'm like, oh, kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Unless they turn around, Josh, right. I'm like, oh, okay. But for all that, and that's, I think, the best thing about it is I get to call all these people a friend. It's not a client. Yeah. That's the thing I think I like the most about it. Everyone's a friend. No one's a client.
Exactly.
So that, I think, is the best bit. So when I'm old and grey, I get to go, I have all these cool friends.
Yeah.
Not clients.
No, I think, like, I feel the same way. Like, I know that guy in a different way than everyone else does.
Yeah.
And, only his friends know him that way.
Yeah, because obviously you have to put the face on for the jobs where you have to do those things. And when you and I aren't doing, we get to stand on the side, but he gets to stand out in front of 65,000 people and perform. And obviously the perform is the perform part.
Yeah.
It's not who he really is, but it's the persona he puts on for the performance. Otherwise you'd cry in the corner with 65,000 people looking at you. You're like, oh, what's all this? Kind of thing.
They don't even see me and I get nervous.
I know. I'm standing next to you and I can feel the nerves coming off. I have to sometimes walk away and go, you're making me nervous, Bernie. I can't do that anymore.
Well, cool, man. Thank you again for your time. One more question.
Oh, I know what this is going to be.
If breakfast was included, what would you have?
Well, I've had a think about this, and I thought I was going to do all this kind of pretentious nonsense or just really simple, but actually it is just Eggs Benedict. I did have a really nice Tex-Mex breakfast, and I never found the place again in New York, which was really cool because I've never had it before. But if it's something I can get everywhere, it was Eggs Benedict. I love it. It's just great.
Yeah.
It just does everything. It's one, done. That's it.
Oh, right on. Very basic.
Yeah.
You weren't like Felix and his.
Oh, I love Felix's one.
A slice of chorizo cut down long ways.
And the heat the pan at 45 degrees, not 46.
Yeah.
I love that. But that's Felix.
Make sure the windows are half open.
Know, but that's Felix. That's so it's so him. It's just like everything's precise and he knows exactly how everything wants to be. And that for what he does, that's brilliant. I love that. It's so cool. It tells
so
it's good. Like directly into his head. So,
well, man, do you think cricket is the game of gods?
Oh,
I meant to ask you that earlier.
It is godly, but I don't think it would be called the game of gods. It takes forever, and after sitting this season out because I'm so busy and playing a bit more hockey, I am starting to realise my wife is going, it takes 7 hours, and I never know when you're coming back. Kind of, I understand her pain now. Like, yeah, it really does take a long time because I can go over and. I can watch a bit of the cricket game, go and play hockey, have a couple beers with my mates after the hockey game, come back to the cricket club, and they're still going. And they're nowhere near the end. I'm like, oh, yeah, now I get it. And that's only a half-day game. Felix was talking about 5-day games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you have a website or anything people can follow?
I do, joshuablair.com, so you can see me there, and you can follow me on Instagram and things, but you've got all those, I'll give those to you for later on. But yeah, it's what it is. It's a little website that has a few things on it.
All right.
Nothing flash.
I bet. All right, Josh, thank you so much for your time, man. I always love hanging out with you. I love when you show up at gigs. This is my third time in this studio. Third or fourth?
Four, I don't know, four, but you're always welcome. So you'll be back, don't worry.
All right, man.
Just make sure my play-out music's really loud. Because I like your play-out music.
You heard that. I'll let my producer know.
Thank you.
She'll be on that.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
All right.
Right on. Josh Blair. You can find out more about him at joshuablair.com. Go check it out. He's done a lot of cool things. One person that we didn't talk about that he's worked with was Paul McCartney. Pretty fucking cool. Anyway, his brother has a band called Rocket 88. He said he was going to give him a plug in the interview. He forgot. He texted me later. He said, my brother's band is called Rocket 88. They're on Facebook. So check them out. All right, guys, I am done. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.